steps you need to follow. Let's see. So first of all, get all the details of new functionality. And as I have given you and said you what's the purpose, impacted of changes on the existing. And you need to also discuss the change in the load slash volume. Discuss and agree on the impacted components which needs performance testing. Identify, discuss and agree to the highly impacted critical business component. So suppose like if you are not performing any end-to-end performance testing, then what we can do, we can descope some of the components which are not involved and focus only on the impacted components. So basically like there are certain parameters in particular performance on this particular process which helps to decide whether a particular components need performance testing or not. So at the end of this process, we need to give a risk assessment document which comprises of performance testing scope, and we need to get it approved or sign up from the stakeholders before the closure of this particular process. So how to proceed this practically? So in many cases, or in the most of the cases, your application is new. So in this case, what you can do is you can follow just some basic steps which we do in each and every application. Like first of all, you need to understand the application architecture. Like if the application architecture is, so first of all, understand the application architecture. If suppose you find out your application is new for performance test, then what you need to do, you need to set up multiple calls slash multiple meetings with the project stakeholders like a BA, business analyst, or a application architect or a developer. Like combinedly you can do a call and understand the application. It is advisable to collect all the information, okay, so about the system and its architecture and make some valuable notes for that particular thing. So again, we need to refer project document. The software development document is a high level document, and we also need to refer a LLD, which is low level design document, like how many layers, how many tiers, how many nodes, what all components are involved, how many service calls, and many more things we need to understand. Okay, so we need to refer a particular low level design document. Like in that, it will be a flow map kind of thing, and we need to understand that particular flow map. And over a architecture overview document, like helps us to understand the design of the application, like from where to where the application flow is being moved, or it's the data has been traversed. So that is what like it helps. And we have to project document like HSD, LLD, AO. HSD is high level, high HLD is high level document, LLD is low level document, and this is our application overview document. So shut up meeting. So suppose in case of you find that you don't have this particular high level document, low level design document, and application architecture overview document, and what you can do, you can follow the next process. You can set up a meeting with the stakeholder and ask him about the overall architecture and process, and make a valuable notes and fulfill all the purposes what needs to be done. So normally it is being done in the planning phase of the project, but practically there are so many challenges like the change in project scope during initial or development phase, change in strategy, which make initial risk assessment very tough. Hence, performance testing risk assessment is conducted either at the end of the development cycle or when functional testing starts. So normally it is very difficult as there are few many changes during the design process and the building process. So what majorly this being involved in uh, before the start of the functional test or after the development works has been completed. So we'll refer one of the risk assessment document template. Let's see. And here I so basically like this is the thing you need to follow. So you have to attach company logo. Let's take company logo. I have the company name. Suppose you Uplatz. Okay. And company slogan, each anywhere. Let's take Our company slogan is this thing. Okay, so basically here you have to give a project name, and this is the performance testing risk assessment document, and you have to give the particular date, month and year, and what are the suppose you have worked on release and release base, so what is the version of this particular document you have to mention. As in most of the company we follow agile process, and you know what is agile process. And if you don't understand it, in the simple term I can tell, simultaneously both the activities is done, one the development and the testing. Like once the development is finished, they work on release or sprint base, like on the sprint base means it will be hardly in 90 days, 19 days or 30 days, like that, or 7 days. So within that particular time frame they have to particularly build and as well as test that particular component. So here you have to mention the important stakeholder responsible to, whenever you provide this particular document, they have to sign off your risk assessment thing, and who all are involved and what are the sign off date and signature you have to mention here. Okay, okay, let's see. Provide information. So this is the thing, like provide information how the development and distribution of the performance testing risk assessment were carried out and tracked with the use the table. Like this the format you can give, like what initial draft person and what are middleware component, or this scope of abc, like suppose any database, or this scope of any of the middleware components or anything. So you have to add the particular table of contents. So first of the thing is performance testing as a risk assessment sign off. Then record of changes, like what are the changes, whether any of the component has been added or any of the component which is removed, and which is impacting any of the existing business functionality. So we have to like first of all a summary, like what is the main purpose of doing this particular project, and project overview and background, and what are the scopes and in scope and descope. Application architecture, like we have to understand the system architecture and have to give the particular architectural diagram and detailed information on each component. And performance test scope, like what are the in scope component summary and the scope component summary, and risk assessment, and what are the assumption, project timelines, like what are the time frame we are performing this particular activity, and everything, like what all documents have you referred and everything. So let's start with executive summary. Please write here, like let's suppose you are performing an activity in xyz component, and you find out that your a middleware component has been added to the architectural, and you are calculating what are the existing functionality has been impacted because by adding this particular middleware component. So we have to write a overview, and what are the scope, like let's just focus like what are the impacted critical business flows and middleware component as of now, and we have to scope some of the item and descope the items. Application architecture, we have to attach a particular flow diagram in here, and write the details of this particular application architecture. So you can overview, like overview of the system architecture, then architectural diagram, and detailed information on each component. And let's See, like if even we have to mention in scope and out scope components. So we have to mention what are the in scope component. Let's example. So this is the list out the components which are in the performance testing scope. In case components do not have a specific name, then use the components category like web server, application server, like as I have discussed in the previous classes as well. Like we have layers like DB layer, application layer, web layer. In that, what all components have been impacted, we can, and what all things needs to be needs performance testing. Then we have to mention this thing. Okay, scope component summary. Like what are, like suppose we are not like one of the DB has not been used and we are out scoping that particular thing for. So as I mentioned, these are the in scope component. So let's see, like component name is in score, and category wise we can name a score, and like type is can be web server or application server or DB server, anything, and age is existing. So what is the availability of this particular component? So it is 24/7. So impacted of downtime. So suppose if any downtime comes and this particular component doesn't give a particular response there, and it is very slow because of downtime, then it will highly impact the overall application as well. And what is the amount of change in user load? So we found out that 10% increase in existing load. So after this adding any this particular thing, 10% increase in the existing load. So what is the nature of change? Like whether it is a software change or it is a hardware change. We need to mention, like whether it is, if there is no hardware change we can mention it no, and if there is any software change like major, or suppose we have newly added anything new, or we have any small functionality, we have to mention it. And in the risk assessment outcomes we have to mention whether it is a in scope component or it is a out scope component, and provide a particular justification for this particular functionality, whether why this particular in core functionality needs a performance testing. So as this is the major software component which has been added in this particular, so we put this particular thing as a in scope element, and then we can justify like this is the major functionality change, hence performance testing is required. Similarly, we have FUC supporting. So instead of type web server applications or DB server, it is middleware. So a new component has been added to this particular architecture, and this is a new, and this is also, this needs to be available and 24/7. And what will be the impact of the downtime? This is highly impact on the application, and new everything is, and because as software is also new and hardware is also new, and so, and whether it is in scope or out scope, this is a new component added in the system, hence PT is required. So similarly, CDM is there, CIS is there, CAT-DB is there. So even, so out scope component we'll see. So component name is OSS, category is supporting, type is middleware, existing, availability weekend. Only when weekend it is available, and impact of downtime it is minor. So we are not considering this particular thing for performance testing, and it will be outscoped. Now assumption should be documented concerning the available information through which risk assessment has been conducted for this performance test cycle. So the latest version of our application architecture overview document has been referred for the risk assessment. It is assumed that all the impacted and non-impacted components are listed in the document. The latest detail of all the component is documented under risk assessment table. These details are provided by respective project team like production support business. Whatever detail we will be getting via business analyst or stakeholders. We have to document that particular thing. Each and everything we need to mention in this particular document. So what are the project timelines? Like interface, project management. So what are the milestones we need to achieve in this particular release? So key milestones are listed in the table below. Each of the milestones represent a group of tasks or on which completion of performance testing is dependent. If any of the milestones are listed as at risk, the milestone that follow it will most likely to delayed. So let's see, this is the ID one, 0 to 100%, and at risk or yes or no you have to mention, and what are the task you need to mention, and due date, like when, till when we have to achieve or complete this particular process. And interface is nothing but like what is the impacted components, like project management. So similarly, like this all things totally test plan, environment planning, performance of requirement. So everything we need to do a list, like overall process, like milestone. So within 4 to 5 days, we need to do a preliminary project plan, and we have to submit a project plan for that. And after that, we need to follow final project plan, and then we start collecting what are the NFRs, which I'll be discussing for the next class. And similarly, the same process goes on, like test planning will provide the outcome of this particular test planning phase is test plan document. And then with script development and data planning, like how much test data is needed for a particular thing, and environment certification and test script validation. So test organization, project manager, who all are involved in this particular thing. Performance engineering, a lead, performance engineer, engineer, monitoring support, application support, and all many more. So, what are the list, acronyms and all, everything, and what are the reference document we have referred, like whether it is an architecture document or whether it is a high level document or it is a low level document or whatever. If you have referred any kind of document, just you need to refer and attach the particular link to this particular document, so that any of the stakeholder who is going through this particular document gets a overall view of or a high level view of this particular risk assessment process. So, uh, so next is like okay, so I think so guys, I think we have gone through the each and thing is like we have gone through this particular document and we have understood, making sure like you have understood this particular thing. And if you have any kind of doubts or any you need any clarification, then please let me know. uh, so that's it. Like I have provided a very high level, a very in-depth tutorial of this particular risk assessment. And for the next class, we'll go and see how do you do the NFR process and what are the outcomes for this particular NFR gathering and all. And so that whenever you join any company or whether you are a fresher, even if you are a fresher, you will have this particular view. And in the company, nobody will give any work or this kind of thing to any fresher, but it is highly important for a fresher or a experienced candidate to know all these things and mention. So what all, let's see, like, so tomorrow, for tomorrow we'll see what is NFR gathering. For the next, we'll see test planning, test scripting. In the test scripting, we'll consider a load runner script as of now, and we'll try to record and build a script in the test scripting phase. And in the run phase, I'll discuss more about controller and analysis and all everything. And finally, we'll see like how can we report to the client, like what are the possible reporting for ways for reporting a particular document. So with this, I am trying to wrap up this session, and we'll see and focus on the next particular session, which is NFR gathering. And thanks, guys. Thanks for joining, and have a great day.